Yeah, is this recorded? And as per our the way we run these things, I'll just do a quick karakia. Whakataka te hau ki te uru. Whakataka te hau ki te toanga. Kia makina nakina ki utu. Kia mataratara ki tia. Ihe aki ana te ati kura. Hi toi, hi hoka, hi hohu, ti he Māori ora. Thanks. So I've got a number of slides that I'll just sort of get through now. What we're looking at here is just as a quick agenda. I'll go through the ongoing project work and then give a very broad brush description of the groundwater studies that are underway presently, not a report pending. So what we have here, I've just got the project update. The June update, I covered these 3 activities. It's 4 weeks ago, and there hasn't been anything seismically different that's happening here. The 3 activities are still underway. And so the first one was the conveyance studies. From there, we just highlighted that the MBR design is in full swing now with the treatment project managers leading a team there. There'll be an ability to collaborate between the treatment and discharge for a full application consideration. And they're not quite there with the design. Stakeholder updates will occur when there is ability to enhance that part. Activity 2, in terms of the private land subsurface drip irrigation option, which as a key focus for the application work at the moment. There's in terms of having any project, a key thing would be the memorandum of understanding with the private landowner, which is still underway, and we anticipate something happening soon with a lot of the communities with growth program under 2050. There is strong relationships forming with WDC and many departments with key developers. This is the case here. Things are looking good and strength, a very strong relationship. It just takes a bit of time. It's quite tricky. It's getting worked through, and we'll give updates as we know. Activity 3 was we still really appreciate the ability to investigate the private land discharge option in the vicinity of Mangatawhiri Road. That work again, it's different to other sort of I'm hearing from our expert there. It's different to other parts of New Zealand where you may have a flat sandy piece of square area to do. That would be the most simplistic way to design subsurface drip irrigation fields. Raglan's at the other end of the scale just because of the topography and having to really just look really closely at. There's good soils there, but it's going to be irregular shapes, and you have to put in some work into getting the design right to maximize the lines, which therefore gives the flow availability. And a portal has been developed for that GIS. It's all done through GIS, so there's confidence from our experts that things are coming along well, in anticipation of progressing this option further. So again, activity 2, WDC led activities. Of my next slide, I just really wanted to go back in time a little bit to February, because we have spent a lot of time talking about this option. This isn't the only discharge option. We still the options that haven't been discounted are still in play, and the shortlisted are a status quo or consideration of public land with a relief valve, and consideration of private land with a relief valve. In terms of where things are heading with the private land option, it's worth putting the energy and effort into something that we think has quite a strong possibility of becoming a best practical option, but from a technical perspective. But those decisions aren't made by the technical team, and there's lots of other factors to consider under the RMA framework. What we can do is work alongside as a contractor, work alongside the future consent holder, which be the cat's just getting up in my room. Sorry, we're working with WDC as the client, and the forum we have now is to report up to the Water Governance Board with recommendations about next steps. So for the subsurface drip irrigation system, regardless of where it was, there'll be significant investment to take that forward prior to any application preparation. To get the significant investment underway, we'll have to have some strong certainty that this is a likely best practical option. To determine a best practical option, there's intertwining factors, including where things are at with ability to secure land. MOU starts that discussion, and then with thinking things through, like how will this be managed? How could there be? Is it a buy or is it a lease situation? Could lead to an affected party approval, and then that is what's required as part of any application. Part of it would be understanding the project costs as well, conveyance up to that height, and the installment of subsurface drip irrigation. I think as I've tried to reiterate through this, conveyance is an unknown at the moment, and it's anticipated that it could be quite significant, given the head pressure needed. With the work that's happening with the treatment team, we'll better know the amount of on-site storage, the amount of balancing through winter and summer seasons, and ultimately the flows that are needed to have to head up to any subsurface drip area over a 35-year period. Then we'll better know the costs. That's just the way that this sort of set of works has to occur. Part of that also, the Water Governance Board, we're wanting to understand the adherence to project of the project objectives established very early on. A key project objective is, of course, to meet Matarangi Māori expectations. Point we've been reiterated with the weather patterns and things that are happening. Resilience is a main thing that's needed for discharge methodology. In times where weather is out of control, crazy, a relief valve is something that is a non-negotiable. So you'd hope that at some points of time there might be a large ability for a yearly discharge scenario, having the ability to have a point source discharge in some manner. It'll be in a manner that is through collaboration with community and Māori to make sure that the Māori and the neutrality of the waters is obtained before it enters the natural waters. That would be a goal of the project team. Yeah, and a key thing and part of what we're doing now is the refined engagement and partnership with key stakeholders and more focused key stakeholders, those that are adjacent to any subject site, and representatives. So all these things are going to will take a long life of their own, a lot of work streams, and it's just how this project has to run. So I just wanted to reiterate that the work doing now is a set of work to report upwards. It's going to be balanced against a lot of other factors other than just the technical work that's been undertaken. But in any case, we don't stop, we keep going, and part of that is a commitment made to some of the adjacent cluster of folk up near Mangatawhiri, and they're saying, well, what we want to have, we want to understand through technical experts what is the groundwater scenarios. We want to it would be useful to have a desktop study to gather all these things, aquifers, related data, and to develop to get our thinking so we can read, digest, and scrutinize this, and that is absolutely fine. And that resource will be a critical project document. So that has been that, as we know in this group, that work has been underway. It's near completion for distribution and commentary and from stakeholders. I asked the hydrologists, Mauricio, if I could just have some images and some sound bites for tonight, which he has supplied, and I can easily go through these now. So the first part, the groundwater bores, there has been just with the detail known, they've able to produce, Mauricio and his team are able to produce this slice that travels from south to north. I'll be able to better describe the transect in the next image, but it's taking the known bores, the groundwater level within those bores at that certain point of time, and just show things. It shows we've got the aquifer there from extracts from fractured rock. The analysis there is for the areas above 100 meters above sea level, you can expect the groundwater to be 40 to 60 meters below. And then when I look at the potential discharge areas, I'm looking at a 45, just quite crudely looking at a 45 meter below ground level, which is the same as what the assessment was when we looked at a transect from east to west. So I'm confident that that's where things sit. And with subsurface drip, we're really talking about the first couple of the first meter or so. The thing with subsurface drip, you don't want water to mound above. In terms of in the ground, there's most of the ground is reserved for atmospheric water, rain, etc., and that dilutes down to a point where it's not particularly detectable at the groundwater level. But I'm really satisfied with the work going ahead, that it's meeting the objectives set early. So this diagram isn't new, but this will be part of the reporting. This is the objective was to enhance the local hydrological knowledge and communicate the groundwater flows to the community, etc. So earlier on, I said that the advice was that it highlight in terms of the area around Maungatafu Road, etc. The groundwater has a general flow towards the ocean. They've enhanced that a bit further because we wanted to expand it from a 5-kilometre radius. And the advice is that the regional groundwater flow will originate from Mount Kariora, move outwards, flowing towards the north and eventually discharge into the ocean. So these are just very broad brush arrows that show the direction of groundwater flow. What I've put in stars there is the subject site of investigation, and also the town supply. There'll be more commentary from the experts. I can't know this diagram, I just thought it was a picture speaks 1,000 words. It's quite useful. The last slide I have here, again, it's something that it repeats from other forums. It's just talking about the flow, quite how the flow sort of forms from the ridges, and it does. I've put this area here. I put that into just so the general groundwater flow, but again, this is where it flows. It will be flowing to the north, but it's flowing down, and then it will be meeting these water passages, etc. This is and again, the statement is local shallow groundwater flows the topographical surfaces, with water tending to flow laterally towards gullies and lower depressions. So I thought that was quite a useful image. So sorry, this is just a very, very broad brush presentation. I hope I'm looking at it. I've spoken for 15 minutes and I'll stop sharing. We can have a discussion now. But that is all I have prepared for today, and there'll be more to come next month. I'm happy to open the floor if there's any quick queries.
On slide 4, what was the yellow line and the green line? Is the yellow line where the SDI is going to affect the surface, and the green line where it's not, or what's the story?
I'll go back to this slideshow. Okay, I've just brought the PowerPoint up, and I can, if everyone can just see the image I'm talking about, and so can you just repeat the query?
Potential discharge area it shows as yellow.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And I'm rather surprised it grows up the side of the next valley. And I'm guessing that areas not affected by it are in green. Have I understood the colours right? Or
I think what they've done there is look at it as just, it's quite a simplistic picture. They've just taken the property boundaries and included it as yellow. At a time when we're able to present the nature of the discharge areas, the 21 hectares within that larger site, it's not the full.
Yeah, that's just a very general impression, isn't it, Stephen, of where the area where, just to sort of put it into context, John, of where we're thinking of doing the surface discharge.
okay, so that's simply a land boundary rather than where any water might be. Yep. Okay.
It will never be continuous like that, and because within that, again, the point there is that it's the top edges of the ridges, which is the best farmland, which has the nice young lush, the younger soils is what we're after. The other ones that are going down the topography would mean that it would never be useful for subsurface drip irrigation. That doesn't differentiate it with that yellow and green, but it will when you get to the more defined images, which we hope to get through soon.
And on the wells themselves, the bores, what's the difference between the blue and the white?
The blue and the white. This is the detail that's come through from the WRC data portal, and I'm guessing that and I know that it is with the log data shows the depth of the well, and also at that point in time the groundwater that was discovered.
It's the groundwater level, John. Yeah,
it
was measured at that.
So the blue is air and the white is water. Is that right?
The blue could be considered an empty pipe. The white could be considered up to where the groundwater was reaching. So the pipe would be full with water to that point. The blue would be where they've wouldn't be water.
Yeah, but that will vary obviously over the year, John. The level of that was at that point of time, wasn't it, Stephen?
Yes. Again, it just shows that it is varying. And this transect is just very, very high level broad brush.
And is there any indication where the SDI water is going to go, or is that yet to be studied?
But those are the areas which Steve's shown you, John, and the SDI tends to work in the top meter of soil, correct, Steve?
Yeah, the where it's going to go, there is 21 hectares of similar blobs like this that I'm just showing now. It'd be great, and I know it's a little bit, you go, oh, you're just showing what we've shown forever, but we are working towards the landowner to have a better understanding of through an MOU when it's good to share things. We're not at that point yet, but there'll be 21 hectares of this type of land, and it would be within the top layers of the soils, which I showed through those wetting patterns over that 6-day cycle.
Does it make any difference what's on top of the soil? Because you did produce a very interesting booklet, I thought, looking at the various crops that might be grown. I think that was a year or two ago, and you got that study done.
We've talked a lot about that one, John, and it was useful to say, well, what can you grow? Well, there's things, there's a variety of stuff. What we've done since then is when we're working with NextGen and Professor Freeman, is he's just selected the probably a real good species of it was just a fodder. I forgot. It skips my brain. Just
Lucerne.
Lucerne at the moment. But again, there could be other
Christmas
opportunities
trees were
as
the
well.
most profitable.
Yeah, that's right. But with in other parts of New Zealand where it's done, they don't strictly just grow lucerne. There's some of, like, as we've seen in Pauanui, that reserve is just as recreational grass.
Yeah, I mean, I just jumping in here, you know, some of the other district councils where they have land treatment options or operations, they grow ryegrasses, lucerne, and they harvest that periodically and then sell it. But obviously they can't sell it to dairy farms, but they can sell it for dry stock feed, and it helps supplements the cost of, you know, running the land treatment operation. Over.
Yep,
Thanks, Hugh. Thanks for the
I've
questions,
got no
John.
more questions. I don't know if anybody else has.
No, John, always appreciate you. You're always with us on this journey. So thanks, and thanks for the queries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my usual question, Stephen, is, you know, what are our timeframes here? Because, you know, obviously as a regional council, as the regulator, you know, we sort of want an update on, you know, what are the timeframes? You know, this has been going on for a while now. Application has been lodged. It's probably going to be superseded by a new application. You know, we can't, as a regulatory authority, we can't sit on applications indefinitely. We need some sort of time frame as to when, you know, when a new application will be lodged. But we also understand these negotiations with landowners, third parties take time. But I guess we do need a little bit of an update on timeframes. Over.
Okay.
And it really, and that's real. That's real. We have to understand. You always have to have a time frame. We can't drift on for 8 years, and we never would ever want to. And again, it's sort of like what's the best scenario if we can't get to a discharge solution in the next 2 years? Do we just ask for a 2 years extension? I mean, do we lodge one for 2 years and get effective party approval and go through that hearings process? What's the preference that is needed, or the solution that's needed, and that's sort of a boardroom discussion needed through managers and through WRC managers. Happy to bring that to them. If we're just saying we get it, you're working, you know, if we can, and there's evidence now, you're not just mucking around, you're trying to get to a solution. But equally, under RMA, we want to be having a consent in place as the regulator. We can do that, and would you appreciate if I just gave that feedback to managers and within the next week and give you feedback? Yeah,
I mean, for example, Cambridge, you know, they sort of short-term consent to continue to operate their, you know, updated system, what they could do, with a view of seeking a longer-term consent for a new plant, and that gives certainty to the community.
No, we'll definitely take that on board, Hugh. Yeah, I mean, you've been on this journey all the way through and been very patient with us, and probably we do need to go back and give you an estimate of the timelines around the various work streams. I mean, some of them are very, very complex, especially the landowner MOU, Stephen. Some of the issues that are being discussed outside the immediate waters area, you know. So, but I think, Steve's suggestion that there's a management sort of do touch base with you, Hugh, and the right people at WRC once we've done that stock take. I think that's a good way forward.
Yeah, we certainly acknowledge the work that's been done. But we can't sit on application indefinitely. I think we owe the community to get a new authorisation in place and to ensure a long-term solution for Raglan is decided on and implemented. Yeah,
and as you know, we Steve couldn't comment too much on, we can't talk too much about the treatment because we're in the middle of the procurement process.
Yeah.
And that we can give you an update on that process and how long we expect that to take and the delivery time that comes out of that design build procurement process. But the other streams, some of them, yeah, we'll do a stock take and come back to you. Do you want me to talk about anything else tonight, Stephen?
No, I think.
Relation to you?
Oh, okay, yeah. There's just as a FYI, this will be the last session I do, but it's going to be left in safe hands. Richard, my boss, who's on the we're talking to now, will probably be doing a couple of these. I'm taking up another role, but I'm confident, yeah, that this is on the right path. And the discussion just had now here is really good and healthy as well.
Yeah.
John, I know, John, you have your finger on the pulse a lot with your radio show and just being a key person in the community. What would be the like if there was just a case of is there confidence now that a shorter term consent, a 2-5-year consent and continue working to long consent, would that go down? Would that just be bigger? Would that be something that could be accepted and understood why it's happening here? That everyone's working towards a longer term consent, given the investment that's going to be made in Raglan. In the interim, we've got a expired consent that we are working toward. We're going to be putting an MBR, which is the state of the art technology there, to make sure that it's the clean, and it's not generally happening in the saltwater environment, but it's happening here because would that be something that it's okay to, I mean, we'll be talking to others, but what's your feel for it? Just out of interest. You can say no comment if you want to.
My feel is that, as you can see from the number of us from the community here, lots of people have felt that there's no progress and there's not much point in following it, because I think for quite a while you've been telling us that the memorandum of understanding was about to be signed.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably David Peacock's holding out for whatever he can get in the way of development and reducing development contributions and such like. And probably,
I think you'd be jumping to the wrong conclusion, John. I don't think that's happening at all.
Yeah,
the discussions are more around. I think Steve's explained before about the growth areas and around Raglan and how transport, strategic sort of infrastructure, including roading and the waters, are delivered and sort of planned for.
Yeah.
Originally, I think even before Watercare took it on, MBR was being suggested originally with a 2018 date. So we're 5 years on from there now.
Yeah. Fair comment. There was a reluctance by council to invest in a partial solution, and there is a reluctance by some people probably see that if we followed this going to a short-term one with an ocean discharge, that we would have done half the job. There has been a desire to sort of look at the whole thing and try and meet the objectives that the community agreed on.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't know how much it's going to cost the community, and I'm
absolutely,
sure
and infrastructure costs are going up through the roof.
There's
yeah,
a general objection to paying more rates for everything, and this is just another of them. But Chris wants to comment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think is there merit? I think there is merit to apply to a 3 to 5 year consent based on the MBR technology, not based on the current discharging standards. But if you were to apply for a 3 to 5 year consent based on the quality of the water you predict that you're going to discharge under an MBR, yeah, I think there would be some level of understanding, especially given the fact that there's whole 3 waters debacle is up in the air depending the outcome of the election and whatnot. So yeah, I would say it's probably a wise idea. And if I was part of the regional council, I would probably be setting a deadline, because without a deadline, we could go around and round and round. So whether it's a year off or 6 months off or 18 months, whatever. But yeah, if I was part of the regulatory body, then I'd be setting you guys a deadline.
Thanks, Chris. I didn't know you were there, but that's very wise, and really appreciate those comments. Give us a quick second, and this discussion will be had again. It might be a case of no one wants to drag out and spend millions on a hearings process. It would be like, you don't have to support this, but don't oppose, because it is just a very short period of a couple of years, which we're trying to get through something bigger and better, and meet the bigger, wider aspirations.
You'll have to feel out the other partners, you know.
Yep, but it'll just start. Amazing things happen when you start these sorts of talks.
Yeah.
Do you have any feeling in terms of getting a memorandum of understanding whether having a deadline would be beneficial or not, or whether it wouldn't have any effect?
The memorandum of understanding sits purely with the private land discharge option. That isn't established as the best practical option yet. There's other options to consider. So it's not purely resting on this MOU. And to be honest, if without even it being able, we should be really appreciated as even any private land option. I don't think without this support we've had from the landowner to investigate this, would even be talking about it. We'd be talking about public land only, which isn't new to this project. It's always been talked about, and it's always been very, very hard. But with an MBR, it makes things a lot a bit easier. But there's challenges there. So there's, in terms of the memorandum of understanding being done, we're just putting some energy into the private land just to see if it's not a fanciful option. The direction there has been in terms of public land, the conversation stopped to a point. There wasn't strong support from the
Parks Department.
Yeah, that they said in the first instance it would be good. It would be tidier and easier to understand a standalone option, which is hard, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, thank you, and thanks very much for all the work you've done on this over the years, Steve. It's going to be different without you.
No dramas, John. I'll see you on another life.
What's standing in
We're
the
going to be
way
meeting again, are we?
of the best BPO? Like what hurdles do we have to overcome to come out with the BPO?
Be part of a multi-criteria analysis which considers things like cost. If it becomes eye-wateringly expensive, which we've found with other projects for conveyance, it can be quite easily shown. We're not talking about like maybe just through COVID and that these things have risen 6 to 10 times. You wouldn't expect it, but it really has. So cost is one of is a major thing to consider. Yeah, and securement of land, an agreeable manner to do it, and that sits outside what the technical team can do. It might say, well, we only want to do this, and the guy says, oh, well, no thanks.
Yeah.
So those are the major ones. Cool. Should we should we let Chris keep on with his dinner? He's chopping up some carrots or something.
Oh, what's for dinner tonight, Chris?
I'm making a curry.
Oh yeah. All right. If it's useful, this discussion there's some outcomes from it. And so see you in a couple of weeks. We'll have something further to talk about. Everyone happy?
Cool. See you in a couple of weeks, or see not yet?
There'll be a meeting in a couple of weeks and someone will be here. That's all you got to know.
Yeah, I think Steve should be thanked for all his hard work on this project. You know, he's been a real one. I don't think people realise how much effort has gone into this, and it wouldn't have got this far without him. Yeah.
And also acknowledging Stephen's efforts with Tikawhata Wastewater Treatment Plant as well. That's been another journey with the community that has taken a lot of time, a lot of discussion, a lot of choreo. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm learning that there's lots, and with the regions that the WAC cover, these sort of challenges accompany every district with every consenting progress. So don't worry, I know it seems hard, but you know, but this Raglan community, you're not alone, and everyone gets there in the end somehow. Cool, man. Well, I will leave. Priya, you can do your thing, and this will go up on the website soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Cool. No worries.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
See
you.
you guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Dave.